Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, August 18th, 2023. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Friday, everyone. Steady selling pressure here in pre-market trading as the market continues to extend losses here. We've seen a failed new high begin the week and a big time continuation down over the next several days. This is after a series of failed new highs triggered the initial decline, and overall we have broken back below key market structure levels here in the near term. That opens up more downside ahead, perhaps as low as 4,200. 4,200 was the breakout point here. Below 4,200 was a range down to 38, and from 42 up to 46. We got the move to 46 here, and now we're, after breaking down here back below 4,500, we're now making a move to perhaps go retest all the way back into the breakout point up ahead. That'll be right near where year-to-date VWAP will rise into that zone, provide perhaps some support, and maybe we can bounce from there. Another level here to keep an eye on, just a very short-term level, is 43.50. We're seeing 150 point distributions right now, 43.50 up to 4,500, and that's a 150 point distribution, and then 4,500 up to 46.50, 150 distribution, and the next one down would be into 42 that we talked about. So again, if we come into 43, this could be a minor bounce portion. We could bounce perhaps as high as 45 and still see a continuation down up ahead. So this market remains within a very clear downward trending bias at the moment. At some point, given the weakness here, we could see a counter trend bounce. That counter trend bounce could be defended for another rotation back down. We take a look here at the NQ now. NQ, very similar price action, but is really led in many ways to the downside. Broke through the previous month's low very early on and has continued downward. Broke through the previous month's midpoint very early on. So very aggressive selling pressure out of the NQ. One thing you'll notice here is the break back below 15K. This thing rallied right into 16K right here. Big time level there. Here's 15K right there. It had held above that level for a while and then gave it up here over the last couple of days. That has opened the door to more downside ahead. We could be looking at a continuation that, quite frankly, takes us all the way back to the previous year's midpoint, and that's going to be one and the same with year-to-date VWAP. So that's the breakout point as well. Broke through the mid and rallied, and if we're failing here, we could easily rotate all the way back down to 13,500. Right now, 14,650 at the moment. Again, given the high range week to the downside, we could see a little bit of a counter trend, maybe a hold week next week with a downward bias up ahead. Let's take a look here at crude oil. Crude right now showing signs of a likely continuation to the downside as well. We've seen this thing fail up here at prices above 83.52. We've rotated back down through the 80.50 level, which is the previous year's close price. That's been the sticky level all year. Failure through that level here a couple of days ago. Prices above it being rejected. Today, prices at it being defended as well. Inside day at the moment with a downward bias. We've had quite a bit of range here in crude oil ahead, preceding here, and now we could see a continuation ahead. So narrow range price action. After this drop, we could be looking at more weakness up ahead toward 76, the midpoint here, and year-to-date value, followed by a drop into the midpoint of the range, that's 74, and a drop perhaps all the way down to 67s at the very least here, with 64 as the bottom of the larger 20-point range. So all the way down the range we could go with crude oil. The next failed new high could be a great opportunity for a move downward, although we have not seen a failed high since the initial rejection. Okay, let's take a look here at gold futures. Gold seeing a little bit of strength here, up 0.4%, but remains in a heavily bearish trend here. Lower highs day over day, lower lows day over day. Very steady selling pressure ever since the rollover gap up, filled back below 2,000 here. That level has been offered at the beginning of the month, and it has just been straight down ever since. We mentioned before we have the previous month's low here and 1900 coming up ahead. That's going to be the next zone still, and even if we reach that area, is price going to hold there magically? So far we have not seen a semblance of strength. We had that one day of strength right there, and it was a gotcha day. It failed, and we've seen a rotation back down. So even if we reach 1900, you need to see a good rejection to suggest that we might bounce back to 2000. If not, a failure opens up a retracement back to break even on the year, which is 1830. Taking a look lastly here at the YM. YM, big time breakdown here. We talked about the narrow 3-week range and how it's built up 1,500 points to 2,000 points of energy. And if we broke out of that range, it could see all of that energy unleashed very quickly. We got the downside break over the last couple of days here. Big time continuation down. We mentioned initially that if we break below 35,100, we could open up a path back to 33,800, and that's also where year-to-date VWAP is, the 200-day moving average, and the previous month's low. 34,386 is where we currently are. 33,800 is still below. Again, given the stretch that we've seen this week, we may see a pullback or hold next week with a continuation into 33,800 up ahead. So still more downside. From this perspective here, this range right here, given the downside break, 35,400 as the high, minus 2,000 points puts you at 33,400. That's a 2,000 point move from the breakdown point. That would put you right back to break even on the year. So enough energy here to get you all the way back to break even for the YM. So steady weakness, any bounce could still be a selling opportunity even next week for a continuation toward 33,800 and perhaps even lower. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the weekend. Good luck, trade well. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.